Welcome back to another episode of the Exit Interview, a podcast for Black educators with your host, me, Dr. Asia Lyons. So happy. I feel like we're getting some prime premium guests here on the show, of course. And I'm finding people in all kinds of ways. And today we have Asha von Liebtag, and she's here to share her story all the way from New Jersey. And folks, if you don't know, I'm in Denver, and I've been meeting some wonderful folks from California, from Texas, from all over. And this is another great guest. So I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So we already had a chance. They know how it goes on the show. We already had a chance to chit chat a couple weeks back, and so I got a
Yeah.
chance to hear the story, but they haven't. So let's go ahead and get started. Start us off. How did you
Yeah.
decide that education was for you?
Oh, I need a cup of tea, a sip of tea for this conversation. So,
Yeah.
literally, it starts with my grandmother. My grandmother was that woman who was robbed of her opportunity. I think she dropped out of high school, 17, got married. You know, it was a different generation. And marriage didn't go well, did not finish, had 3 kids, struggled, limited opportunities as a Black woman in this country, and literally was left with 3 kids by her husband, and he left off with another woman. When my grandmother raised me, due to my parents not being able to, one thing she stressed to me was education is key. Strive for excellence. That's something that she just literally she drived and she drilled into me. And as I think about it, this woman, after doing all that, went back straight to her GED, straight to getting her associates, her bachelor's, and went to get her master's, all starting off in the age of 50.
Mm.
And she's my shero, right? Because I've seen firsthand with just her experience, and she was the first one in my family to actually go to college and graduate. And I feel as though she showed me what education yields, what doors it really opens. Here's a woman who was on welfare and food stamps and struggling with kids, got her education, and she owned her own home. She owned her own car. She went to all sorts of trips all around the world, and she had a certain style. She reminded me of the Supremes, with this,
Sure.
you
Yes.
know what I mean? And oh, those wigs, I tell you.
Yes.
We're and I just looked up to her, especially even more when I learned her story and how she pushed for that. So for me, becoming an educator was very personal. But then there are also, the things that I received from a student perspective in high school from my educators. I think about how they pushed me as I was going through personal family issues and struggles, and when I doubted myself and my own abilities, and how they kind of ignited something within me to really show me that I was worthy of pursuing excellence, that I was capable of excelling, that learning is a way of life, that it's
Mm-hmm.
not just to get to the next grade. And I truly embody that to this day.
Yeah, I love that. And we were talking about grandmothers before we got on the call,
Yeah, yeah,
and a lot of times we have to, maybe it's just me, but I done it, like pull from that strength, like you just said,
yes,
from our ancestors, from our
yeah,
grandparents, to know their journey,
yes,
to be inspired every day, because there are times where, what do we do next? What do I do? How do I figure this out? And
absolutely.
having to shout out the ancestors' names. I'm gonna say Polly Dyer, my grandmother's name.
Yes.
To say like, I need some help, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And so you went through high school, had these challenges. Where did you decide to teach? Were you an educator in the teaching capacity? Tell us more about that part.
Yes, yes. Okay. So definitely knew that I wanted to be a high school teacher. And I was just like, no, I want to give back to my neighborhood. I'm born and raised, for anyone who knows, called Brick City or Newark, New Jersey. Um,
Yeah.
And it's funny because you want to give back to the community. You know, you're told that as you climb, you look back to pull up with you. Um, I knew that I wanted to educate. I knew I wanted to be that cheerleader, that teacher, that motivator, that everything that comes into the package of being a teacher. Because you wear multiple hats. And I went to college for it. I went for it and got my bachelor's with the extra year, got my master's in education and English, teach secondary, wind up getting another master's to go and become principal. Like I saw my livelihood in education, and especially in high school, because I knew that the older kids was where I felt as though I can reach and really connect the most.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, thinking about high school and the challenges, and I think we talked a little bit about like what it means to be a high school teacher and making sure that students have something engaging to read in all these ways. Uh, Tell us more about like how long you were teaching, the schools that you were a part of, other things that you outside of maybe your language arts, ELA, those
Absolutely.
pieces. We love the details.
So, it's so funny. So I was gone whole on, starting my internship while I was in graduate school. Starting my internship, and I'm just like, yes, where do you want to go? I want to go to urban area. I'm going to make change. I want to connect. And then I wound up getting a placement at Ridge, in Ridge High School. Now, I know you're not in Jersey. So just picture a neighborhood that's not just wealthy, but you have kids riding in exotic cars. You could drive around the neighborhood and it looks like the president of the United States might live in there. Like I'm talking
Mm,
very wealthy. And you could tell the teacher's parking lot is really where the Toyotas and Hondas are.
sure, the
I
Prius.
mean, you look at those exotic cars. Oh, no, dear. Teachers over there. This is students, dear. This is students. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
nice. So I started my internship there. And of course, at first, I was very upset. I met my mentor, the teacher who is supposed to overlook, and he was amazing, very bright, love him to this day. But I was upset because it was just like, no, 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 no. I need to get back to my kids.
Yeah.
I cannot say how that experience opened my eyes. One, because it made me realize that as Black educators, it's not our goal should not just be to give back to Black students. That's very important. But it's very important that we are represented everywhere. I cannot begin to tell you how that internship opened my eyes to so many students, especially of privileged backgrounds in wealthier areas. They tend to see Blackness or people of color in general, um, custodial work, serving food,
Sure.
maybe security, it's not necessarily standing in front of them, teaching them content, subject-based, material, that'll get them into college. So as I was standing in front of them, it was some very interesting experiences. I was told even for the first time that that was their first time that they've ever been taught by a person of color, a Black person, period. And it made it aware for me, to me at least at the time, that, you know, it's not just, something that, I have to teach them. It was a learning opportunity for me.
Yeah.
I began to bust my own, prejudices or, uh, probably wouldn't call it that, but, thoughts and ideas that were very, insular, I guess you can say, right? And limited, on what I thought when I thought about people of a certain background, completely bust them up, and they got to see me. I got to see them. We got to explore books. I whipped out Beloved. What
Oh.
brand new teacher comes
Oh.
flopping and bringing in Beloved? Now, of course, I was, gun ho. I was like, "This is let's go." A brand new
Yeah.
teacher, of course, would do something like that because that book is And when I say spend, I mean you can spend years just
Yeah.
unpacking the beauty, the brilliance, don't let me get going on Beloved, but it was just an eye-opening experience because they were eager to learn and some were not, right? And,
Yeah.
it was finding these creative ways to connect to their humanity, to step outside of Blackness for a moment, even though it was a book by a Black woman who was focused on racism and all these others, but to get them to see at its core the brilliance and the beauty in its writing and its construction and all of these things, and it brings us all together, right, on one page, and let's explore, this genre and explore this book and explore this writing, and then be able to talk about the myriad of things that are going on, the relationships, the racism, the historical context, and all those things, and we made it comfortable and a
Yeah.
safe place to do it. That, my dear, is where I feel like is a struggle in a lot of, classroom settings, across this country, and teachers being able to tackle and to discuss a variety of different texts that really explores humanity at its core, and not be afraid to do so, especially in an English class where you're really dissecting literacy and you're exploring how someone can, with their mere words, reach and pull and get at the core of what it means to be human, to make you feel with each word that you digest, right? That is magic. And that's what we bring out and we teach in an English classroom, right? Like, if you do it right, you will reach any kid, any kid. And that's what I loved about being an educator. That's what kept me wanting more.
Now, folks, I don't know if y'all can tell, but my girl is leaned all the way up on this laptop. She is giving her business in this. I'm staring at her into her soul right now, and she's staring into my soul. Let's just be. So I just wanted to put that out there. One and two, you make a beautiful point that I've said so many times about Black educators are not just for Black students.
Mhm.
I know you and I have talked about this when we met a while back, that there's this conversation of, well, that wouldn't have happened to you if you were teaching at Black, or Black teachers should be in front of Black students, but Black teachers are good for everybody,
Yes.
right? And a lot of us, like you said, I was placed in this place and I made the best of it and I showed up how I showed up. And that happens for so many of us. I've said
Yeah.
this before on the podcast episode. When I moved from Detroit to Aurora, which is a city next to Denver,
Mhm.
I was just applying for every district that would hire,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I ended up in a predominantly white at the time school
Mhm.
district and
Mhm.
took the job and
Mhm.
did not receive any more phone calls from any other district. And I applied for at least
Mhm.
5 or 6 districts. And so you show up, you bring the books, you bring the wisdom, you bring the ancestors, you do the thing
Mhm.
that you do,
Mhm.
and you show your excellence and whatever that means, right? And your success.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that you said that, and I really want people to, like you're saying, like kind of break away from that box thinking that
Yes.
we should only be teaching kids of color or black students. When I was ready to leave out of the district, being pushed out, experiencing racism, people were like, "Oh, well, you should go over to that school over there because they're
Mhm.
diverse." Like, so
Yeah.
that you won't, AKA, you won't experience racism. So just go over there and hang out over there with the rest of the Black teachers. And that's such a toxic way of thinking about
It's a
things. But
toxic way and it's a
hmm
falsehood. I
hmm
I was that was my internship. I came out of
yeah,
that internship and then I taught 2 years in my hometown in Newark at a charter school. And, it was middle school and it was predominantly Black and Latino, like, school district, right? The majority
hmm
of the students were there, even though the majority of the teachers were white. And I will say this is that, some of the Black teachers that I even had experiences with there, that's why I love that you said bring your excellence as opposed to you said bring your Blackness, right? Because I still to this day I questioned what that really means when we put that into a box. Like, you can't put that term into a box, right?
Yeah.
Blackness, because it exists everywhere. You could pick us up and drop us off and raise us in different areas. We're born in different areas, and there's different stories, collective pieces that belongs to Blackness. But excellence, that's different too. It's interesting to see how we individually bring our excellence. As far as that goes, this idea of Blackness, and teaching with people who look like you, or other teachers who look like you, I I did not have the best experiences sometimes. One, I did not like, within this specific charter school, um, how a lot of the boy populations, I'll say, the male students, those numbers were dwindling.
Mhm.
They were constantly getting into trouble. They didn't sit with their hands folded, or, their belt buckles weren't aligned, or they didn't, do certain things, and they had to act a certain type of way. And it was like, okay, is this school considering the culture in the mix? And why is it so much on, how you have to behave and, fold your hands and sit upright and look straight? I mean, there were certain things and ideologies that I wasn't on par with, like didn't see eye to eye. But then there were certain teachers where, some of them were a bit toxic in their thinking too.
Mhm.
Um, some teachers I've come across in my profession that look like me, they thought just as badly as some of the other teachers that did
Mhm.
not, where they would, see the areas that these kids are coming from and automatically approach them a certain type of way in a classroom
Yeah.
because they did not think that they were capable enough, or they would not push them far enough, or they would say, they're from here, so we need to start here. They're not capable of doing such and such. And it's just like, no, my dear, if you were an effective teacher, you would know that you have to do the heavy lifting. Why don't you scaffold that? Why don't you model it? Why don't you chunk it and find different techniques and strategies to reach these kids so that you can continue to pull them up and work and so on and so forth. So, you know, I cannot say that I don't believe that, um we should be limited to where we go. I know that our kids, especially in predominantly Black and Latino areas, those happen to be the schools, that needs good teachers. They need, people who can see them and relate to them. They need, to be in an environment where people believe in them, they understand them, they can reach them
Mhm.
on a cultural level, on a personal level. Like that, I do not negate. I do not go against that. But at the same time, also feel as though if we are to only put Black people or brown people, whoever, in front of those students, when those students are supposed to graduate and go out into the world and they experience people who are not like them, who look down on them, who do not, they need a variety of experiences. They need a variety of good teachers. They need a
Mhm.
variety of different styles to come into their classroom. They need to touch on a variety of different topics to have a holistic understanding of their world, of themselves, and so they can gain an understanding of where they see themselves in it. And that's for them to decide, right? Like,
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
we teach our kids how to think. We teach them how to get to the why, or to be able to ask the why. We give them the, we don't tell them what to think, right? So I think that we need to start thinking, as opposed to a us and a them. We need to start framing this conversation to be a how we collectively as a human race start to approach these kids who are in need, and find a way to uplift us all, so we
Yeah.
can close this gap truly, and really get at these kids to understand, how you can see yourself in the world without it being black and white all the time, or us versus them, or
Yeah.
this is your job and that's their job. Like, I cannot begin to tell you how sometimes it's limiting. It limits perspective sometimes, because I don't see a lot of Black people in that place right there. That's not what I immediately think of. I think of where I see the majority of the Black people. Where are they? Oh, they're this. They in this profession. They're in this profession. Okay, so I guess I'll go there. Let's break those walls down. Let's slam them. Let's start thinking beyond the ceiling. Let's go,
Yeah.
baby. I'm there with you. I need those teachers. Where the hell are they? And they don't have to look like me. I need you to love. I need you to care. I need you to give a damn. I need you to see humanity when you get in that classroom. And they all don't do that. I don't care. Black, white, brown, whatever. They don't all have that it factor. You need that it factor because these kids are trained. They see through you.
Yeah. That's a word, y'all. That's a whole sermon, y'all. Go sit back and drink your tea. Go.
I'm taking tea. I'm taking tea.
Take
I
it.
can't. I can't.
No, and you're not wrong. So you everything you said was exactly, and I hope that the folks who are listening agree with this. You were teaching at this charter school for 2 years. Did you, like, what made you decide it was time to go to somewhere else? What was that journey like in
Mhm.
that piece? We want to know that because from us listening to your story, obviously, even now, no longer in the traditional teaching sphere, you're still extremely passionate about educating children of color,
Yeah.
educating white children as well, being in community, showing up in space. So, what was the next step after you left that charter school?
So I will say this: charter schools are definitely a place. I feel like there needs to be a variety of options out there for people. Period. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like charter schools bring it as far as the structures that they have in place, the education, like, tracking the reading skills, the math skills, like looking at testing, so on and so forth. But there were some things that did not sit well with me at the charter school. For those who work in a charter school, and I'm sure some of them love it, it sets up a beautiful community in many cases. I know this charter school that I was at was very good at doing restorative practices, or at least they were really working on it before even like public schools now are starting to buy into them. They did an excellent job in creating those morning circles and making people feel a part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I had to leave the environment because that you give your time, the time commitment, you give a lot of yourself to a charter school. I mean, the hours sometimes are long. Sometimes you don't really agree, like me, with some of the systems that are in place and the structures that are in place. Um, and quite frankly, I honestly believe that some of those structures, if you pick it up and you put it into a wealthy area and you try to have those students do what they're able to do with the kids in a urban area, you have a lot of parents pushing back.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. But regardless of that, like I said, they have their places. I just could not, keep up. I can't begin to tell you how many relationships, that I saw break apart or marriages that dissolved, because the time commitment is through the roof. I was coming in on Saturdays. It's getting to the point where Sunday night came around and it was just like, I started getting emotional, or it's just like,
Sure.
I can't.
Sure.
But with this is too much, too much. And so I transitioned. I got an opportunity and I took that mindset and I went back and I started teaching. I wanted to teach in my home school, but they didn't have any openings. And it was a magnet school in Newark. But I wind up seeing an opening. The principal wound up reaching back out to me, or vice principal, I should say, and said he had an opening at this wealthy district in Summit as well. It's another school that was in the top 20%, 20 in New Jersey, I would say, in the top 20. And I went interviewed and got the job and I taught there for almost 10 years before I exited the classroom, not education.
Mhm. So did you find in those 10 years that you were at this wealthier school did tug with your spirit about
Mm.
leaving the charter school and that particular community, or did you hear people ask you like, why didn't you stay? What was
Yeah.
that conversation like in your mental or with other people?
I'm gonna tell you the truth. The only tug that I felt is with the students. The students would come up to me, the students that were so excited to have me as a teacher. the next year, no, 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 no. Like Miss at the time it was Miss Haley.
Yeah.
I wanted you to teach. I wanted to teach. And of course, I made connections with those kids. You see them in the hallway, you joke around with them in the morning, you after school, like you taught their brother or their sister or whatever. You when you connect and you know you can make a difference there. That was the only pushback. But the system of the school, the literally the way it was institutionalized, I couldn't get with that structure. That didn't sit right with my soul. So I was very happy with the transition. In addition to that, the transition that I made, it was a wealthier district, but it was near urban areas. So you had populations of students, whether they were like the Latino populations, where, I don't know if you know, but in some wealthier districts, you have some families that come over. Some of them are undocumented, some of them are not. They might all live in one apartment. They might live in a room, switch it out. They try their best to make sure that their kids have a good school to go to, while they might literally work from dawn to dusk, right? Like you had
Sure.
schools in wealthy areas, and then you had in this particular area, there was Section 8 that was offered. So you had some people who were able to transition from urban areas or of lower incomes and live within the communities as well. So I had the privilege of not only serving kids who were wealthier, but I had some students who, of course, fell within that, impoverished bracket as well, or the lower income bracket as well.
Sure.
And I was able to reach all of them. I felt good that I was that person that was there that they felt they could connect to, because weren't many Black people at the time when I was hired within the whole school. And I would say maybe if I can probably count it on one hand. And a few of them, like one was a teacher, the other one was guidance counselor. It's stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So 10 years of teaching at that school, and then you said, and then I was done teaching, but not necessarily leaving education. So what was after that?
So we know that lovely period of the pandemic. I feel like everybody's trying to still get that out of their vocabulary and trying to like Men in Black flash themselves.
Yes,
Like
for
I just
real.
don't want to remember that period. That's when I decided to exit. I was on my second child. And I know the teachers out there that you have a baby and then it's hard because you think to yourself, I'm leaving my child with another person so that I could go and I could teach somebody else's kids.
Mm-hmm.
That don't feel right. But during the pandemic, during my second birth, is when I decided, no, I'm going to stay home. And that's when I started Lit to Liberate, started educational consulting, started doing academic coaching and curriculum development for a private educational institute, started to work part time for Rutgers University with either coaching English teachers so they can get their credentials or mentoring them throughout their first year. And I've been having a lot of fun and kind of like working from home, raising my kids, and still being able to work with college students and high school students and teachers all at the same time during my own schedule. So it's been
Yeah.
beautiful.
And we'll get into that for sure because you want to know more details. I feel like we have so many folks who go into consulting. You decided to go into consulting and start your own business. Tell me, before you left, was that something that you were thinking about doing before you left teaching? Or that was something where you quit and then you started planning out this consulting? How did that work for you?
That's an excellent question. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you, I I really saw myself as I love the aspects of teaching. The main aspect was reaching students and lesson planning. I love,
Mm,
love, 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 love coming up with new units, going into the books and the literary canon and finding ways to make them relevant and connect
mhm.
with students. Um, the things that I hated, absolutely hated and dreaded every day. So, that beautiful bag that you have, that lovely teacher's bag? Yeah, that used to carry the same papers to and fro. And I would tell myself every day, have conversations to the papers with myself in my head. You're going to get graded today. Do you understand me? And the papers will
Hold,
go, yes, ma'am. And I would say, okay, we're going to have this today, 10. Okay, 10.
oh my
I
God.
wake up and they
Hey,
still
just
there.
stop talking. Stop talking. I just want to pause because every teacher on this, listening to this, knows exactly What you mean? Language arts folks had it worse. I don't know how y'all did it, but that exact same thing. Like, I'm gonna do 5 tonight. I'm gonna just get through
Oh,
one class. I remember when I had the realization that I was never going to stop grading, that I was going to never have an empty basket that wasn't filled the next day. And when I realized that, I just stopped trying to hurry up and grade. Because what was the point? I got it done. The kids were never looking for it. But I just had to stop you on that because when I was teaching at CU Denver during my grad school program, I was like, let me just see if I want to teach again. Maybe it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
the same school district.
yeah.
These are adults. When it came to that grading, and you're talking about full on 5, 10 page. I'm like, oh my God, I hate grading with all of my heart,
Yes,
with my whole chest, my
yes.
whole body. I hate grading. I don't know. I know 1 or 2 people who I've talked to who said they love grading papers. I don't know how
What?
they did it, but I just had to stop you on that because
So you know it's true.
I know exactly. You like,
Mm,
I just do 5 tonight. I'll just get, if I do 5 every day for 5 days, I'll be done. Never happened.
never happens. So, great actionable step.
I found it. I started to cut you off, but I had to say, like,
You know it.
but go ahead. Go ahead.
You know it. You know it. That got him. And when I was in a school district where the parents were very active, and luckily I was
Oh,
known for being that teacher, right? Not to toot
sure.
my horn, but I love what I did. I brought it to every class. My kids would tell you the same thing, right? But then you'll have those parents, in addition to the pile of papers following you everywhere like a puppy. You had the parents sending, emails every once in a while or, of
Y-
this or the meetings that you would have. And then,
Yeah.
and then you'll have it was all the administrative aspects, those things that the SGOs, I don't know in your state if you had SGOs where you had to track your own growth and you had to do percentages and set a goal for the year and then
Oh,
track the
yeah.
data and all, it it is like every year they were just adding new things that need to be tracked and on your desk for you to do and complete. And in addition to checking emails, in addition to updating the website, in addition to making sure. And I was one of those teachers. My husband would always yell at me like, "You're tired of grading papers? Stop assigning papers." What? But
Yeah.
the
Like you're a language arts teacher that doesn't assign
oh,
papers.
come on. So, it was just getting to the point where it was just like, man, like, I had to look at that balance. Like, how much
Yeah.
do I love
Yeah.
standing in front of my babies every day and bringing it versus how much do I hate all these things that keep piling up of stuff to do that I personally don't really feel like matters.
Mm-hmm.
Like send that stuff of the faculty meetings stuff in an email. Come on. Like, we gotta
Yeah.
sit there for an hour for you to tell me what you already sent out. You tell it was like started the redundancies. Like, there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
But that is what started having me go, I think I wanna kinda venture and see some of the other things that I can do, but that will keep me loving what I do. Like that is still the focus of what I do in teaching and reaching and connecting to students, and creating. And that's where I am now.
So knowing that you, me, everybody gonna listen to this podcast who's an educator or was an educator hates grading papers. What do you think? What do you think that schools, districts, union can do to keep Black educators in the classrooms, in the counseling offices, as administrators, as family liaisons? What do you think would be helpful for them to know based on your experience?
Uh, Honestly, that is a huge systemic question. My girlfriends and I were just talking the other day. They're transitioning into the tech sector, right? They're looking at educational technology. They truly believe by 2050 that education is definitely gonna be like, AI is gonna play a huge role. A lot of programs are gonna be offered online and so on and so forth, so they're doing big investments in that field. Part of me hears that and I cringe, not gonna lie, because it's like, okay, there's nothing like standing in front of the people that you teach and reaching that kid and feeling that kid's energy and connecting and on a whim, like, diving into the teachable moment, like, being there
Yeah.
for that kid, pulling that kid to the side when you're seeing they're having an off day and turning it around. Like, it's those moments that I really think takes the teachers that are good to being a teacher that's on the next level, right? But at the same time, I feel as though you need to have structures in place that set it up for teachers to feel heard, to feel like the work that they do, I wanna say more than matters because I feel like since Black Lives Matter came out, that word matter is now used everywhere. It's more than matter. It needs to be an integral part, right, of the very decision making itself. Like, you need to listen to what teachers are truly struggling with. Now, I know I kidded around and I started talking about those pile of papers. I'm not gonna lie, collecting data, analyzing that data, and looking at how you need to shift your instruction in order to reach those kids so that they learn the material, that's important, right?
Mhm.
We all know
Mhm.
that's important, but we just sometimes need to do it, right?
Yeah, for
But at the
sure.
same time, I think administrators really need to sit down and have some real heart to heart conversations with the teachers in their school. They need to think about what type of culture, holistic culture that they're trying to create, not just for the kids, because sometimes we become so student oriented that we pour ourselves into the students and we don't necessarily listen to those who serve them, right? What type of cultural environment are you trying to set up with your teachers? What do they really need to feel like they're not scrambling and struggling and
Mhm.
floating out there in the middle of the ocean trying to survive? And when you think about some of these schools, you wonder if they're structured in a way to realistically and holistically be able to support their teachers with mental health when it comes to, yeah, think about a whole lot of new teachers. We know that ugly percentage. They come in and the first 2 to 3 years or that first year, they're gone.
Yeah,
We're
yeah, they are.
gone.
They're considering a master teacher 5 years now. I just heard that somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, no way was I master anything in 5 years.
No, no. Malcolm Gladwell came out with Outliers and he said, in order to master anything, you need at least 10,000 hours. He said that equates to about 10 years before you feel like you master something. But I feel as though it's really, really important for them to set up that culture. And quite frankly, if we dive a little deeper into setting up that culture, we need to have some ugly conversations. We need to have the teachers like really we talk about restorative practices and having teachers do that within the classrooms. And yet, those same teachers feel uncomfortable talking to other teachers who are literally in their department or in the school.
Talk
How
more
can you
about that. Talk more about that.
come
Talk
on now?
more about that.
I get right,
Ooh,
go for it. Go with it, my love. You know what I'm talking
listen.
about. You know what I'm talking about.
Don't have me up here prophesying it, but that is the truth. We will teach restorative justice practices to folks. Expect them to do that with their student. Just I'm repeating what you just said, and they
Mhm.
won't even look you in the eye in the
No.
hallway. They'll walk right by you.
Walk right by you. Don't see them outside of school. They might pass by you completely because I don't
Yeah,
usually talk to people who may look like you.
yeah. No, that part. I'm so glad that you said that. Uh, I just wanted to pause on that because that is 100% true.
Mhm.
The expectations that we have on our students, we do not have on ourselves.
No.
Yeah, but
No. And you
continue,
wonder
continue.
systems, like, fall apart and why they're like, I had this is one of the blows, the blows to the nail, in that coffin, um, for me being in the classroom, at least within this particular school. I had a teacher I've taught board members, like, t kids, right? And they send me glowing, like, I hate to say that, but I was that teacher. Like, I
Mhm.
was that teacher that the custodian, the janitors, the secretaries. Like, I was there with the forensics kids, okay? Like, I was always at school, like, with the kids in my classroom, and I'm not gonna lie, I loved it. I loved it. It was like my second home. When I got to the point when I had my kid, it was, I think, my first kid, and I was struggling with, balancing new momhood and getting things together with the grade book and keeping up with the grading and keeping up and entering into the system. The way that the system my school had set up is that you should at least have 1 grade entered into your grade book per week. And I was at the point where it was like weeks went by and I haven't put anything in, and
Mm,
I knew it. And I would have conversations with my students, like, give them collective feedback back, talk about things, work through things, model it. I got you guys. Don't you worry about that. I'm going to be a little bit easy on the grading this time because I know it's taking, conversations. I had one of the teachers in a science department go over my head, speak to the vice principal, and complain about my grade book. One, it felt like a complete slap to my face because
sure.
it's like, I know you. And then when I went to that vice principal and I said, whoa, 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 it was a teacher, you know, yes, she just didn't want to come to you because, you could be a little, you're a little intimidating. Literally, she struggled saying that.
Mm,
And, you could be a little intimidating. And, but Ace, you have a way of saying something in an auditorium full of people, and you'll be the one who can say, the thing that everyone's thinking.
mhm.
And first, which to a certain extent is true, right? I have no problem voicing my opinion, but a part of me was also like, okay, here comes angry Black woman. So you couldn't come to me because I'm intimidating? Like, what is it
Yeah.
so intimidating about me? Like, I've sat in a lunchroom with you on how many occasions we speak on, like, I'm a personable, and approachable teacher, and you felt you couldn't, you went over my head. That was a slack. So I cannot tell you how angry I felt. I felt
Sure.
like I'm pouring myself on these kids. I'm pouring myself. I'm already crying. No, they didn't know that. When you are going through this as a mother and you're transitioning and you leave your child with someone else, you struggle. And I'm crying coming in because she's sick today and I can't even hold her, or she's, and you're going to do that? Ooh. And of course, the teacher later on apologized and whatever, but it was things like that. That's just like, where's the humanity? Where's the loyalty? Where's the community? Where's the connection? Why couldn't you come to me? Why is the school setting and culture is not set up that way where you would think that would be your first? Where's the loyalty? Right? It almost felt like in my district, like the administrators had no real connections with the people who are on the ground making the district what it is. Right?
Yeah.
And that I feel like is where that magical thread that you could pull to just make everything just like
Fall
unravel
into
and
place.
fall
Yeah.
apart. That
Sure.
where do you bring it together? How do you do so authentically? And there's no magic answer to that because
Yeah.
each school should breathe a new and a different unique culture based on the people who are there and the vision the leader has, right? And I just feel like sometimes the leaders don't really create a vision that includes the teachers. It's so the students. We're gonna have it set up where the students are gonna graduate and they'll leave with 2 degrees that they can apply to the university, or yeah, my kids are they're gonna have but what about the teachers? What's your vision?
Yeah.
Well, for creating their voices, for making them feel heard, for making them feel involved, for setting it up where they want to come back. They feel like this is a second home. They feel like you got their back, right? Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? And
Uh,
I'm sorry, love. Go ahead.
No, no. I the thing that I real come to realize is leaning into what you're saying is they we have no schools administrators have no control over adults,
Yeah.
right? And in
Yeah.
school, people come and go and come and go and come and go and
Yeah.
come and go. So we do these DEI trainings, we do this training, that training. Those folks leave the next year and then take that with. And there's no way that we can, in my mind, create the type of environment that is conducive for what Black educators and kids of color need, and perhaps white educators too, in a type of environment that is so fluid in that way, where people on top of that just don't give a shit. I'm here, I'm teaching my students, and I don't see that as harmful. That I looked at your grade book, I don't see it as a problem, right? And how dare you be upset about that? And then I want to go back and apologize, but the harm is already done, and over and over and over again. Um, but yeah, to be seen in education, you are not the first person. You're the 46, how many episodes this is, who always say, see us as human. See us like you see everyone else who has a baby at schools. When I was
Mhm.
teaching, I shit you not, there had to been, I'm not making this number up, maybe 8 of us pregnant at the same time.
Mhm. Same
We all
here.
had our babies at the same time.
Well,
That's not a phenomenon,
no.
right? But it's like we as Black women cannot be human. We cannot have a baby and it struggles because we can't keep up with breastfeeding or staying up at night or colds or diaper rash and grading papers. We have to keep going on and on and on. And that's so toxic. Um, yeah. So
But doesn't it make you wonder what's like if you look at these systems that are in place for students,
yeah.
it is a structure it is a well lubricated machine
Yeah.
that plug kids in.
For white children. And if we as Black children and brown children benefit from that, it wasn't meant, but good for you. Like it's a bonus. But the net that is thrown out to support white student success, sometimes a few of us get caught up in the net and find our way in GT classes or find our way to a really high quality counselor. But so many of us don't because we know the system is not created for us, right? We just know that. Um, Black schools with Black administrators or otherwise, and we could talk about the access gap and all these other things. But I'm cut you off to say this,
Well,
but
cool.
yeah, you would think that the same way that we think so critically about the success of some student,
Mhm.
we would do the same thing for educators. But it does not work like that, as we can see, right? Or we would still be teaching, right? Um, yeah, we can go full on to this into a whole different episode. Maybe we'll dig into this later, but I'm gonna pause us for a little break and then we're
Yes.
gonna come back. But yeah, that's something to think about. So, all right, folks, we'll be back after a moment. And we're gonna get into the second part, my favorite part of the episodes, and talking about really like present, like what does it mean? What's happening now, and the who and the why and the how. And I'll start off with the first question we ask in this particular part of the episode, and which is, are there Black educator or at least one Black educator in your K-12 or higher ed experience or that you know now that you would like to shout out?
Oh, absolutely. Shout out to Jonathan Alston. That was my high school English teacher, one of the smartest guys I know, man. He was, the debate coach, such an analytical thinker. In fact, I wanted to be like him in the way that he thinks, in the way that he articulates himself, in the way that he can push you, to a new view, right? Into a new perspective, using a new and applying a new analytical lens, right, to gain a better understanding. I love it. It was brilliant. And he was also there for me while I was going through my moments in high school. All right, I could just go in his room and he would just sit there, and the same way he'll decode and analyze and synthesize materials in a book, he would apply it to my life. And I think he
Mm,
was one of the ones that taught me the real reason why I wanted to be an English teacher. It wasn't because I'm one of those well-read, avid readers. Even though I do enjoy myself a good book, which, by the way, if you were an English teacher, you don't read until you out of actually not an English teacher. You don't have no time.
right, right.
But I will say that he made me realize the true reason why being literate matters, right? Like I feel like every English class is the introduction, as well as helping students master analytical, critical thinking skills, right, where they can really apply it. So shout out to Jonathan Austin.
Okay. Um, so you alluded to this a little bit before with this level of curriculum writing and being employed in some capacity at Rutgers. What are you doing now? Tell us about where out of the classroom is traditional sense. What are we doing in our day to day?
Oh,
Consulting, tell us all the things.
you know what?
Child rearing.
That is so I had a third child. I don't know what's wrong with me. You're mad, but
Bless you. Bless
blood
you.
rips so hard. And I love him. He's 4 months old. And, this stage of my life I would describe as beauty. I feel like sometimes I feel like a cat. Now there's some logic that comes to that because they say cats have 9 lives, which is not, literal, but it's almost like I'm on my 6th one or 5th one, as I think about the different periods of my life, whether trauma or whatever else. Um, and when you enter the phase of comfort, um, of what you dreamt of when you were that po kid in the herb,
Mm-hmm.
with parents that, were under the influence and so on and so forth. Um, it's almost like a dream realized, where I can work from home, set my own hours, raise my own kids. And it's probably a little tough. I have to sometimes realize, all right, Age, dial back the teacher, bring out a little bit more of the mama,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm a stickler when it comes to my babies learning how to read 3-letter words by the time they're 3. Um, and I feel as though it's something beautiful of being of partaking and being present in my life. I get to choose things that I can do right now that I personally find fulfilling or edifying. You know, I feel like everybody can say they're educational consultant right now, in different ways, and I have to put this out there. You find that thing that you enjoy doing, that aspect of whatever it is that you brought into your classroom that you felt fulfilled by, that kind of kept that fire burning. Um, find a way to package that, and see if how it can be sustainable in your life, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that in transferable skills, right? My husband for a living, is literally he works at Rutgers as well. He teaches classes on career management, so he helps resumes and people at the midpoint in their lives where they're trying to transition out of their career into a new one. And he always talks about transferable skills. And I don't think people realize as teachers how many transferable skills that you have, right? It's astounding. And when I sat and I thought about the things that I love doing in the classroom the most, the curriculum development, the bringing it, the connections with the students, that's where I realized, okay, you know what? I'm going to capitalize on this here. I'm going to continue to work with the teachers because it means something to me when I'm able to work with a teacher and I leave them feeling though they can actually create lesson plans that engages students while also augmenting their critical thinking skills. Um, I love that. I love that. It's a part of what makes my day feel like it has meaning, right? And
Yeah.
purpose other than my kids. I will say this. Um, I am also working on a book right now. And that's the other thing I was going to say. One of the things that I feel passionate about that you probably heard a little bit on his podcast, um, is I love the idea of students understanding the truth behind what happens in a classroom. I do not believe if you're that teacher that thinks that what you're teaching should remain in those confined walls and result in a letter, and then that letter gets entered into a system and as it, You're not, you got to rethink things. And I get it. I get
Mhm.
it. There's so much going on, and there's, everybody wants pulling at you and want this, and you got to show that you're teaching the kids and data and all that stuff. But no, I'm talking when you get to the nitty gritty of why you really entered the profession in the first place, other than money, you probably didn't get that much of.
Right.
To me, why I brought it is that I said, you are going to become my future. When you leave this school, and when I'm an adult, when I am an old woman, I'm going to rely on your intelligence, on your decisions, who you vote for, what decisions you make in life, what jobs you take on, what things you invent, all these things, right? If I do not teach you how to think critically, if I don't give you the tools and the strategies necessary that you could carry with you for a whole lifetime, I shot myself in the foot.
Mhm.
Do you get what I'm saying? Once again, not teaching them what to think, but how to think. And that's what I said to myself. Babe, is that your passion? Find a way to write about it. Put it in a book. And that's the bigger goal for me. Even though I'm working this and doing these things I enjoy doing on the side and working this part-time and scheduling this on my own time and so on and so forth, I'm sitting here and my goal, my big dream is to finish this book so that I can go around to different classrooms and different auditoriums and different places, and I could reach those kids and I could teach them, but through real life examples, just like I would with a book, but apply it to my life because Lord knows I went through everything, and show them the literary skills that actually can be applied in real life, not just to a book, but in real life, right? And see how it can make you into a better person, almost in a sense like some type of motivational self help, but also English classroom all meshed together in a book.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's my personal journey. I would implore you to think about what it is that you have within you that you feel like you need to impart on the world, right? To bring them to the next level as well.
Love that. Yeah. And you've said a couple different things: the consulting, the book writing, the supporting students. And, and I love this idea. We can do all these things. All these things can be true.
Mhm.
You learn, of course, you learn some new skills along the way. What does it mean to utilize what you already know
Yes.
and utilize it with confidence? I think that's the piece that I
Yeah.
find. So many of us get brainwashed into thinking like, this is it for me. This is all I can do. I don't have the
Mhm.
capacity to learn a new thing or to go out and do this thing. But until we're in the grave,
Mhm.
right, we can
That's
learn, we
true.
can pivot, we can figure things out.
That's true.
Yeah,
And if it's not that, that imposter syndrome come in and starts
100%.
flapping us up and down. You know what I mean? We got to
Yeah.
shut that down
And then,
immediately.
a lot of that conversation, is from other teachers, other educators
Mhm.
that were in spaces, other counselors and admin who say, well, I just got 2 more years, or are you sure you want to do that? And so that imposter syndrome was placed upon us, not just from childhood or from our partner or community. It can be definitely in the schools that want to keep us under them in these ways, even if it's harmful for us, and they know that. Last question.
Yes, love.
What's been bringing you joy these days?
Ooh, man, oh man, oh man. What's been bringing me joy? I got to go personal for this one. Um, I had to look within. I started off before we had this started the podcast. I was telling you a little bit about grandma's room, right? So to all y'all, I have a room in my house where I have my grandma on my wall. Told you a little bit about her earlier, and she's in this kind of supreme look going on. She got her, in her younger days, where I'm sure she wasn't completely in church.
Right, that part.
She was, and I brought her into my wall, into this room. I have candles on the walls. I have beautiful pictures around. I have this poster with powerful saying about, and I'm gonna read it to you. It says, "Live the life you've always dreamed of. Be fearless in the face of adversity. Never stop learning. Use your imagination whenever possible. Recognize the beauty that surrounds you. Be you. Remember where you came from, but never lose sight of where you're going." And what I do here is that I get my bells going, I turn off the light, I light the candles, and I get a little personal mantra going. For me, my words are, um, you are becoming. And then I say whatever it is that I want to invite into my life of what I'm becoming. Shout out to Michelle Obama for naming where we're becoming. I was like, how brilliant that progressive tense, right? That you are always in a state of. Uh, so to me, that's my joy, is that I refuse to seek it outside myself. I choose to sit still with myself and think and find it within. And the way I find it within is that I invite those thoughts into my head of who I am becoming, of what I am becoming. Have conversations with my grandmother, it passed away years ago, but I have conversations with her and I thank her for who she was and who she is within me, right? And that to me has been my new place of joy, is to really find it within.
I love that. A great place to end our episode. Aisha, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for
Folks,
having
yeah,
me.
of course. All of her information will be in the show notes. Please take a look, reach out, ask questions. But in the meantime, we will talk to you all later. Peace out.